Hi there. This is my video response to Hemant Mehta. He recently released a very nice video called "We should stop using the word Islamophobia." I support this video and I support this message. But unfortunately, in that video, he has made some significant mistakes and he seems to be very confused about several important issues. He makes half a step in the right direction and then he defeats his own arguments. Let's listen what he has to say. I'll be starting from point 45 seconds into his video.
Have made what I believe are valid criticisms of Islam. Just to rattle off a few, the Quran and the Hadith say some really horrible things about infidels and how they should be punished. There are Muslims who believe that honor killings are justified, and we all know what happens if someone draws an image of Muhammad.
So far so good. There are Muslims who believe horrible things, and we all know what happens to those who draw Muhammad. Let's see what he has to say further.
Now, I'm not saying all Muslims agree on these issues. They don't.
Most of the Muslims think that Quran trumps any other law, and things in the Quran are the right things to do.
But let's not kid ourselves. With more than 1 billion Muslims in the world, the number of people who think apostates should be killed, for example, it's not insignificant.
In reality, it's not even insignificant. It's huge. Huge numbers of people think that we should kill apostates.
This is a conversation about Islam and religion in general that I think we need to have. Most people avoid the conversation altogether. I mean, even on talk shows. Maybe you see it pop up every now and then on Real Time with Bill Maher, but that's about it. But what happens anytime Bill Maher or Sam Harris criticizes Islam? They're called Islamophobic. And that's bullshit. They don't hate Muslims.
They don't hate Muslims. But honestly, those Muslims who support those ideas, who live those ideas, who teach their kids that apostates must be killed, and they do not need to teach them directly. They just need to say that the Quran is the word of God and it cannot be changed. It cannot be transformed. All those Muslims are the people that I have problem with, and we all should have problem with.
There's a difference between bad ideas and the people who hold bad ideas.
And what's the difference? The difference is that bad ideas are nothing without people who hold bad ideas. So whom we should criticize is the people who hold bad ideas, not the bad ideas themselves. We have to address those people. And those people who hold those ideas higher than the local law should be deported or otherwise addressed by the authorities.
And we should all be allowed to rip apart bad ideas. It doesn't mean we're attacking the person making them.
Excuse me, what is bad in attacking people who think that apostates should be killed and these laws must be above the constitution and the laws of the land? What's bad about it? I don't understand. Here, I think Hemant Mehta got very confused.
Unfortunately, people conflate criticism of Islam with bigotry against Muslims.
It's Hemant here who conflates criticizing people with bigotry against Muslims. We should be able to criticize Muslims. Muslims, not ideas. We should be able to talk to them, to challenge them, and to ask them to abandon those beliefs.
Islam deserves to be criticized.
Not just Islam, but Muslims. Muslims who think that Quran is the word of God, that Muhammad is the person, the best person in the world, in the whole history, who cannot be drawn. Those Muslims are the ones to criticize, not the ideas. The ideas are dead without people.
Just like Christianity does, and just like Scientology does. Religions and dogma are full of bad ideas.
And this is said by a former Jainist. Some religions don't have bad ideas. Some religions don't stimulate people to execute those bad ideas as bad as current day Islam does.
That doesn't mean I want Muslims treated badly. I mean, I oppose discrimination against Muslims.
There is a reasonable discrimination based on facts. If you think that a person holds a belief which will make him execute that belief in real life, you should think about the real life consequences that will be executed by those people.
Or, to put it another way, there's a difference between the questioner at the Trump rally and an atheist who criticizes the belief that Muhammad flew up to heaven on a winged horse. But Islamophobia has been used wrongly against the critics of the faith. Even worse, it shuts down all conversation. If you're Sam Harris and you've been accused of being Islamophobic, saying, "No, I'm not," doesn't convince anyone. If you're the artists at Charlie Hebdo and you've been called Islamophobic, saying that you're only satirizing religion and bad ideas won't get you anywhere either. That's why we need to stop using the I word. Not because it's wrong per se, but because it has a different meaning to different people.
We should stop using this word because it's wrong per se. There is no such a thing as irrational fear of Islam. I would define Islamophobia as rational fear of being killed for drawing a cartoon. That's what Islamophobia is, and that's a rational thing. Every sane person should be Islamophobic, and I agree completely that this word doesn't make any sense.
And if we want to communicate more effectively, we need to find a way around that obstacle. So when someone like Dr. Ben Carson says that Muslims shouldn't hold political office because Islam goes against the Constitution of the United States, I think it's fair to call him Islamophobic.
No, it's not fair. Now let's talk about Ben Carson. You remember that interview when he was asked whether the Bible or the Constitution have the precedence? What of the two documents is above the other? And he wasn't able to answer that question.
Simple question. Does the Bible have authority over the Constitution?
He said that's a simple question. That is not a simple question by any stretch of the imagination.
A simply worded question. How's that?
I think probably what you have to do is ask a very specific question about a specific passage of the Bible and a specific portion of the Constitution. I don't think you can answer that question other than out of very specific context.
All right. I will leave that answer there.
Now let's switch back to Islam. Islam explicitly says that Islam is higher than any law of the land. Christianity explicitly says that Christians should obey the law. Now we are talking about a president or a potential president. Should we ask him whether he thinks that Sharia law or the Quran are above the Constitution? Now think how many devout Muslims will say that the American Constitution is above the Quran. I can tell you that such a person will be persecuted by the Muslims, because as soon as he answers that the Constitution is above the Quran, he will be considered an apostate. And apostates, as we all know, should be killed. And the person like that would be in danger. I cannot imagine any prominent Muslim who would say, "I will protect American Constitution against Islam, against any other religion." So, speaking about Muslims and the presidency is not such an Islamophobic thing. It's a reasonable thing to do. Islam is unique in terms of requiring one to have Islam as the exclusive set of laws. And this is where Hemant Mehta defeats the purpose of his own video. Liberals leave a vacuum in this respect for crazy guys like Ben Carson to discuss. The word Islamophobia was invented by the Muslim Brotherhood, and it is used by regressives, and it is used by Muslims to silence any critics. Of course we should stop using this word.
But it's probably equally accurate and even more effective to say that he's guilty of anti-Muslim bigotry.
There is no anti-Muslim bigotry in discussing the fact that Islam requires its followers to follow only Islam in the expense of any other laws. There is no bigotry in this. There is no bigotry in asking Ben Carson whether the Bible or the Constitution is higher. If we ask him that, is it bigotry against Christians? No, it's not. But Christianity is much softer. As I said, Christianity explicitly asks you to obey the law of the land, while the Hadith and the Quran require you to follow only Muslim law. This is why no prominent Muslim will tell you on camera that the apostates should not be killed, because they will be automatically labeled apostates themselves. They will be denying the will of Allah. They will be denying the word of Muhammad. And that's what is unique about Muslims. And that's what should be discussed in the context of Muslim, a potential president of the United States. And I repeat, there is no bigotry in discussing this thing.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali isn't Islamophobic because she opposes female genital mutilation in some Muslim cultures. She's just criticizing a bad idea.
She's criticizing people who teach their daughters and their boys to be segregated and to cut genitals from girls and boys. She criticizes people, and she says that those people should be assimilated. They should be changed, not to make those ideas widespread and prevailing in the Western societies.
Sam Harris isn't Islamophobic for saying that Islam is uniquely dangerous as far as modern ideologies go. He's making a valid point. Ben Carson, who would never vote for a Muslim, that's anti-Muslim bigotry.
No, it's not. It's a reasonable thing to discuss at least, and there should be probably a law that requires a president during the presidential campaign to make a testimony that the Constitution is untouchable, that Constitution is above any religious text. That is a reasonable law to pass, and everyone in this country should be for that law, not against it, including all the Christians. We shouldn't be specific about Muslims. Of course, there potentially could be a Muslim like Majid Nuaz, who would be a good president, who would still call himself a Muslim, but they are in a very, very tiny minority. So a law like that would make a lot of sense.
So don't let anyone get away with using the word Islamophobic to describe people who are doing nothing more than putting Islam under the same scrutiny that we all accept when it comes to Christianity.
Here I agree. The word Islamophobia should be forgotten. This is a non-word, a non-term, as I described before.
My name is Hemant Mehta, and I write it.
My name is Nick Dolgi, and see you next time. Peace.